Three, two, one, and we are now live on the 350th edition of Hit the Ropes Radio. This is crazy. 350 episodes are about to be in the can. Man, that's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of talk. I am currently joined by Courtney McIntosh, who is roaming the aisles of his local Kroger as we wait for Stokes, who cannot get in. What in the world are you doing, my friend?
Well, hey, man, the wife asked me if I wanted to come to the grocery store with her, so I said sure. Didn't think I would be in the store, for this long, but hey. That's what a real man does. That's what a real husband does. And I'm not even giving my input on anything. So I'm just letting her put stuff in the buggy. And, hey, whatever. She got coupons. So, it's all good.
It is all good. And Stokes, having technical difficulties, says, oh, never mind. So he'll be on in just a second. But let's I guess, we're 5 minutes into the show. Maybe we'll actually get this show started. And tonight's show, we'll talk about each and every thing that has gone over the weekend. There's been a lot to talk about. NXT TakeOver was this weekend, as was SummerSlam. As Stokes joins us now. Courtney, I'm going to go ahead and throw this to you as
Why
Stokes
is he here? Why is he here?
He heard you weren't here. He came to save the day. He said that you were going to do it, so he was going to do it.
What?
That's all.
What?
Plus, I'm just walking around Kroger with nothing else to do, so I figure I might as well jump on the show.
Oh, God.
I could have ate my dinner
slower. Let's go, man. Let's go.
So, as I was saying...
before you were rudely interrupted.
Before I was rudely interrupted, this weekend's events, we had two shows before the kickoff of the week, which was Raw and SmackDown, but the weekend shows, Saturday and Sunday, Courtney, give me your one solid takeaway from the weekend. If we were sleeping under a rock or have canceled our WWE Network subscription, what is your one takeaway from this weekend?
Emphasis on the word one.
Oh, shush. My one takeaway for the weekend is that whenever the two brands, well, I guess the three brands are put up against each other, NXT always puts on a better show than the main roster guys, and that was the case this weekend. TakeOver 3 was excellent. Every match on the card, I think, was excellent. It was actually, in my opinion, some of the best wrestling that I've seen on a WWE show this year.
Okay, fair enough. Stokes, what about you? What was your takeaway from the weekend?
My one takeaway from the weekend is that Braun Strowman is the real deal, man. If that is if I can have a takeaway, that would probably be it. Courtney stole my thunder with the NXT show, so I figured I would go somewhere different. He absolutely destroyed Brock Lesnar in the main event at SummerSlam. I mean, he was dominant. I really liked the way WWE has built his character up, since they started to make him a focal point of what they're trying to do. And I think he's in prime position, fingers crossed, please God, he's in prime position to take the belt off of Brock Lesnar at No Mercy. So I really like what they've been doing with Braun Strowman. That's my one takeaway from SummerSlam weekend.
Okay, fair enough here. And I am currently just letting the people know on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, you can come on and join us here in the chat room. And if you are already in the chat room or if you're listening to this recorded, then you could go ahead and join us on Twitter and Facebook at Hit the Ropes. So make sure you do that. Make sure you subscribe and like, and most importantly, share the show. So with that, let's go ahead and let's talk about it a little bit. That main event. Now, SummerSlam, by all accounts, was a slow build. It was a little bit stale. And then as it got to the more important bouts, it started to pick up steam. And then we had chaos. That main event, we'll talk about the main event. It was pure chaos. Everybody was hitting, going through barricades, going through table after table after table. For me, I was the only one. That felt that match was way too much. I mean, was it? It just, to me, it seemed like a train wreck, Stokes. It was just a bunch of destruction for no reason.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a bit chaotic, but I can only imagine that being at the show live, that probably was so fun to watch. Like, it was completely chaotic, but it looked like the experience for that match was probably better live than it came across on TV. It was. You talked about this kind of in your intro to SummerSlam. To me, it was like the reverse of WrestleMania. If you guys recall WrestleMania started off, and Darius and Shane were there live, but WrestleMania started off like blazing hot. And then as the show went on, it kind of progressively got worse. And SummerSlam was the reverse of that. I thought the pre-show was excellent. The pre-show was good. The tag team matches overall on pre-show, main show were great. But the show itself started off really slow. The Cena match was slow. Whatever came after that. And then as we got probably the turning point in the show was probably the Raw Tag Team title match. That was probably the turning point, and then the show started to pick up steam. But yeah, I can see your point about the main event being chaotic, but I did enjoy it, and as I said, I only can imagine that it was probably enjoyable to see live in person.
Yeah, and my thing is just like, I've seen Roman spear through a barricade about 1 billion times. It was awesome the first time, the second time, and even the third time. But it's kind of like, Jeff Hardy in a ladder. You pull it out, and it's like, okay, he's gonna jump off. Maybe he'll hit the person, maybe he'll miss. But let's talk about the results specifically of that match. Brock
Hold on.
What?
I think you guys are kind of underselling this a bit. I don't think it was too much. I think, look, man, you got 4 big horses in one ring. It has to be carnage. And I think it was beautiful. I loved it. It was my favorite match on the card. And I think, overall, the show, like the pre-show was really good. Well, I can't say the pre-show overall, but, the tag team match up until the U.S. title match was the best match on the card. And then the Neville Tozawa match was good. But then once the main show started, everything just kind of went downhill. Until the only reason, and I enjoyed the Raw Tag Team match, but the only reason why that match got hot, because the crowd was dead, but the only reason why the match got hot was because Cesaro went into the crowd and ripped up the beach ball that was being tossed around. That's the only reason why people were cheering in that match. But it did end with a bang, and with a bang, it did end.
Okay, well, I disagree. I thought it was okay. I tuned in just as the match started, and here's the thing. And I'm a little salty because I picked Samoa Joe to win this match. And I felt Samoa Joe was non-existent in the entire match. Like, what the heck happened to Samoa Joe?
I agree.
I predicted him to win, and he does the complete opposite of winning. He gets as far away from winning it and still be in the same match as he could possibly have done so. Please tell me y'all agree.
And you know what was funny about that? On Raw the next night, they were hyping up Joe like he almost became Universal Champion on SummerSlam. They kept saying, I mean, there were a couple of times, like Corey Graves was like, there were a couple of times where I really thought Samoa Joe was inches away from becoming Universal Champion. And I'm like, was he watching the same show? Because Samoa Joe is like a non-factor. He came in there and did a couple of coquina clutches, and that was about it. If anything, that match was pretty much, it was Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Samoa Joe was like a distant fourth as far as kind of who was featured in that match. And that's unfortunate. I thought that I too said, I said Braun or Joe. I was 50-50 on both of those guys. I was just hoping, really I was hoping anybody but Brock. And that's not the result that we got. I'm just not a fan of the part-time champion. I know we talked about this on the show before. I'm just not a fan of the part-time champion thing, although he could be appearing on television more. But, I mean, I just think at some point, you got to put the belt on somebody else. Even if you're going with, there's rumors and speculation that, they're going to do Brock Reigns at WrestleMania. Even if you go that route, you can get the belt back on Brock sometime between now and WrestleMania. So, I really was, and the Fatal 4-Way format, I thought was a good format in which he should lose the title, because then he could lose the title without actually being pinned. So, that plays into, he actually never was beaten. He can come back and claim he was never pinned and then, reclaim his title. So I thought the WWE kind of squandered an opportunity in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. And it's rough because you have so many big guys in, and for everyone to get some kind of shine out of it is difficult. And I also thought it was kind of weird. There's a moment in the match towards the very end where Lesnar was getting pinned by, I can't remember, maybe Strowman. And and Paul Heyman was sitting right there and could have just yanked the ref out of the ring and does nothing. There's no DQ. There's no penalty for him to do that. And, he is a bad guy. So, maybe he thinks Brock can do it on his own, doesn't need his help.
He always says he's an advocate. He's not a physical competitor. So, and that really kind of stays true to who Paul Heyman is. You never really see him physically get involved in matches for the most part. So I didn't have a huge issue with that. He was staying true to who he was, just an advocate.
Okay. All right, so let's continue on. We'll work our way down the card to some of the highlights, the important moments of the card, and we'll skip around with that. And let's talk about a title. There was many titles that changed hands. That's the other note that probably should have happened. If it was like they went the Vince Russo way of rebooting it without having to just go ahead and strip all the titles. It was very strange, title after title. So that's where I got nervous for Joe when I saw all the title changes. I was like, there's no way they've got to stop somewhere. It's got to be the world title. But
I thought that and not to cut you off, I thought that once Lord Jesus, why am I having a brain fart? Because he's a non-factor. Once Jinder Mahal retained, I thought the Raw belt was changing hands for sure. Because I was like, one of them is going to change hands. That actually, the main event from our predictions last week, not to toot my own horn, I'm pretty sure that was the only match that I lost. That was the only match where I didn't predict the winner. Reluctantly, I picked Jinder Mahal to retain, and he did. I just didn't think it was Nakamura's time yet. But yeah, man, the title, all those title changes though. Though I called some of them, I was actually kind of shocked. Man. I was actually surprised at how they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, one of the title changes that I called for, but wasn't certain was going to happen, was the Natty title change. Natty Neidhart finally gets, after like 9 years,
Oof.
is the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Courtney, I'm gonna ask you this: how you feel? They've gotten rid of the glowing title, I guess. They've put the hearts on the plates on now. Is this a Neville title change, and we'll see a quick turnaround?
I hope so, because I mean, did you guys hear Natty on SmackDown last night? She was awful, like awful. Like if you want to put the belt on somebody, you should have just had Carmella cash in if you were going to take it off of Naomi. Look, man, I appreciate everything Natty has done for the world of women's wrestling. I do, because she's legit. She's a legit competitor, but at the same time, it's like, I think, I don't know. Like, Naomi invents offense. Like, if you watch her in the ring, she pulls up, moves that you see on, WWE 2K or something like that. She's inventive. She's athletic, and it's just Natty is. You guys don't like Jinder Mahal. Natty is.
Who's you guys?
Like, well, sorry, Stokes and Shane. But I mean, Natty is just.
Shane likes Jinder Mahal. I'm the only person that doesn't. But go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. But I mean, it's just terrible, man. Like, I mean, look, keep the belt on Naomi, and just let it ride until you call Asuka up, or until you put the belt on Carmella. But Natty, no, I'm good on that, bro.
Here's what I'll say about that, if I can interject. Natty is definitely deserving. I predicted her to win, as you did. But I did think the timing was bad, because Naomi is like hot right now. Like, the whole glow thing is really a hit with the WWE universe. And because of that, I thought Natty taking the belt off of her right now was bad timing, though Natty is definitely deserving. With that being said, what's done is done now. So you have to see where things go from here. I actually don't think it's going to be a short-lived title reign. I don't think it's going to be like a Neville Tozawa thing. I think ultimately we're going to see Carmella cash in at some point and probably, get the belt off of Natty some way, somehow, here in, the very near future. I mean, I see her. She might hold it to the next pay-per-view or something like that, but it's not going to be like 6 days like Tozawa. But I don't think it's going to be an incredibly long reign, but not super short either.
Well, she certainly disagrees with everyone. She said she was going to hold the belt forever, is what she said. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that and see if that actually comes true. I have to take a deep sigh with this one, Stokes, because I don't know what's going on. I'm a little confused. Maybe you could clarify, give me some answers that I'm seeking here. That was a little bit shocking to me, a little bit different for me. It was one match that was much shorter than all the others on the card. It lasted exactly 10 seconds. And that match was between a returning Rusev and the most boring man on the planet, Randall K. Orton. What in the world is going on with Rusev?
I don't know, man. I'm starting to believe that these rumblings about WWE being mad that he cut his hair, I'm starting to believe that those rumblings are actually true, because they are playing Rusev, man. Rusev, I honestly thought that Rusev would have I don't know if I thought he would be world champion by now, but I certainly thought the way his career started that he was on a trajectory where he would at least be in the world title picture. and he had his injury, and I think did he cut his hair while he was injured? Is that what it was? Yeah,
I believe so.
He cut his hair while he was hurt, and there was rumblings that WWE wasn't thrilled with the fact that he did that. And like I said, I'm starting to believe it, man. Randy Orton comes in and trashes him, and that's like the second or third time that's happened to Rusev too, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he have like a quick match at Mania, or it was somewhere else where he had a very short match and got beat really quickly? But then on the flip side of that, how the heck does Randy Orton feel? I know they do they play to the whole RKO out of nowhere thing, and it can happen at any time, and all this stuff. But for him to be such a revered superstar in the WWE locker room, to get a match that short, on a show as big as SummerSlam, has to kind of be a slap in the face to him too, doesn't it?
I don't know, because I'm not. It's not necessarily the time. The short timing wouldn't necessarily bother me. I like unexpected things. I think that's real life, and real fights. People can get knocked out, or if people are doing RKOs in real life, you know what I mean. So I'm okay with short and sudden things. I just think that the fact that it happened to Rusev, who had a lackluster push, that makes that a bad thing. And there's some random podcast, I've never heard of it before, and I tried to search this news elsewhere and couldn't find it. But apparently someone is reporting that Lana and Rusev are unhappy and have asked for their release. So I don't know how true that is. I'm just spreading rumors at this point.
Well, I mean, yeah, I haven't heard any of those rumblings. But if you look at where both of their characters are at right now, if they did request that, you could certainly see why. I mean, somebody even mentioned, I don't know if you saw this exchange on Twitter, but somebody mentioned how WWE just completely wasted all of the training and the time they invested in Lana. Because, if you recall, they had that earlier this year. They had this big build up about her, debuting and her being a wrestler, kind of shifting from, Rusev's valet to being a wrestler. And it didn't go over well on SmackDown. And now it looks like she's moving into a role where she's going to be managing Tamina. And I mean, that's interesting, though. I don't think that's necessarily a dead end, so to speak. I mean, to kind of see, because we haven't seen really a woman manage other women. And, maybe if she built like a stable kind of a la Heenan family or something like that of women wrestlers, and she was the manager for all of them, that actually might be cool to see. So I don't know that, that's necessarily a bad thing for her, but somebody commented on Twitter like, wow, what a waste of all the training and time they invested in you, Lana, to have you now being, Tamina's valet, so to speak. And she actually responded to that and said something to the effect of, no, that's not the case. I'm growing in character, and I'm trying to build and empower women, and not try to tear women down like people have done me so far. So, it's interesting, but if those rumors were true, kind of seeing where their characters are right now, you might understand Rusev's gripe maybe a little more than Lana, because at least Lana is appearing on TV, a bit more than Rusev these days.
Well, and I'm not mad if she goes to corner somebody else. It's just the fact that, I mean, it's not even the build-up, because they build her up and then they put her on TV and it didn't work out. It has been very underwhelming. So they have to shift gears. They could revisit her wrestling down the line. Maybe she continues at the Performance Center and stuff like that. It's just that the fact you're going to Tamina, who, she's, I don't really see anything with her. That's really the thing. I would rather her join forces. It may be stale to some, but return to Rusev because they have that connection, and that it works. It works for a long time, when, especially if it's done right. But if they want to try something new, I'm all for it, I guess. But we'll have to.
Yeah, I mean, if she did something, even if she, they had like the welcoming committee thing, obviously with was Lana a part of that? Was that, I know it was Tamina, Carmella, and was Lana the third person? I know I can't remember who the third. Maybe the third person was Natalya. But if she managed, if Lana managed Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella, that would be kind of interesting. I think people would take to Lana leading a stable of women. And Tamina has a little bit of kind of the Natalya syndrome. I mean, she deserves a shot, but she just hasn't gotten it. So maybe Lana being involved with her career will be the boost that she needs, because Lana, if you watched SmackDown Live last night, said that she wouldn't stop until Tamina became, a ravishing SmackDown Women's Champion. So we'll see if that leads to, some title opportunity for Tamina. But she's definitely deserving, man. I mean, she's been around for a long time. She definitely
she's been injured a long time too.
Yeah, she's been hurt a lot too. I met her at we went to WrestleMania back in Atlanta at Fan Access, and she was very nice. So I'm a little partial to Tamina. She was very nice. So I'm rooting for her, man, because of that experience. But it'll be interesting to see her being paired up with Lana where it goes.
Yeah, I did name drop. Oh yeah, we just interviewed your father not too long ago.
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, we interviewed Snuka. Yeah, I remember that.
So you're right. Okay, I changed my stance. She's the greatest thing ever. Tamina for WWE Women's Champion on SmackDown.
Yeah, we're gonna start a new hashtag. Give Tamina a chance.
Yes. All right, let's transition. We're going back in time here. Back to me, the biggest event of the weekend, and that was the NXT World Heavyweight Championship. That match was between Drew McIntyre and the then champion Bobby Roode. It was for the title, of course, as we all know. Now, a lot of things with that, and I got grudges. All I've got is grudges today, Stokes. All I've got is grudges.
Okay.
And we'll get to the, I guess, match itself and then the things that occurred afterwards. But my problem is, if you're a loser, if you lose your title, you are a loser. Why then do you get pulled up to the main roster immediately after losing? It always happens. Why can't you go as a champion? You can continue on. This happened, I think, with Paige. But why are all these losers getting called up to the main roster after losing? I got a problem with that, Stokes. That's weird. Bro.
Are we referring to none other than the most glorious WWE superstar in WWE today, Bobby Roode? You have a problem with Bobby Roode being called up to SmackDown? Did you not see that introduction? Did you not see his grand entrance on SmackDown Live? Listen, if anybody has been a fan of the Hit the Ropes radio show since our inception, I have been waving. I have been the president, the founder of the Bobby Roode fan club. Even back when he was in TNA, I said, if this guy ever goes to WWE, he will be a huge star. And boy, Darius Brown, have I become prophetic. Bobby Roode is heading to SmackDown. Making him a face was a smart move, because you can immediately, word is that he's basically going to get Baron Corbin's spot. That's what Meltzer and all of these insiders have been reporting. Thank God. He's getting Corbin's spot.
That I'm not mad about.
So apparently he's as Darius drinks a margarita here during the show. Apparently he's going to get Corbin's spot. So you make him a face, even though he probably operates better as a heel. But you make him a face. You can throw him into the title picture with Mahal at some point, sooner rather than later. Let's hope, because Nakamura is kind of wet in the bed right now in that position. But I don't have an issue with the NXT guys, transitioning up to the main roster after a loss on NXT, because in most cases it's almost like a passing of the baton to, the new guy. They do that with the world champ a lot, right? Samoa Joe, passed it to Nakamura and then he came up. Neville passed it to whoever Neville passed it to, and it was a Sami Zayn maybe, and then he came up, and Sami Zayn passed it to KO, and then Sami Zayn came up, and so on and so forth. So it's almost kind of a passing of the torch. Now, of course, there have been exceptions to the rule. You have your people like who am I thinking of? That you got your Apollo Cruzes of the world who never really had an NXT title run. Your Tyler Breeze, but Tyler Breeze was in NXT a long time before he got
exactly. He was the biggest loser, and they brought him up, and he floundered for a good bit until they got this Fandango pairing. So,
yeah. So I'm not mad at the call ups, because especially when they call up like the main guys from NXT, because they always it seems to be the right time. Like, it was time for Bobby Roode to come up. Like, they needed to breathe some life into whether he came on Raw or SmackDown. SmackDown was probably the right choice. You move Cena to Raw. Raw has all the star power. Bobby Roode being a part of SmackDown, and SmackDown being the land of opportunity, it kind of fits that mold. So I thought it was a good move overall. I'm not mad at it.
Well, it breeds predictability, is what it does, and we know we get that feeling that someone's going to be called up soon, and we can start predicting things, and so we can start predicting not only the champion, the new champion, and then once that person lost his belt, then it's almost a given that he's going to go up. So that's part of the outside of just standard logic. That's the problem I have with it as well. But let's not take away too much from the happening of NXT TakeOver. Adam Cole, Bay, as they say, makes his debut. The Red Dragons also debuted. They debuted earlier, attacking Sanity, who won the World Tag Team titles. And then they followed Adam Cole to that main event, and they jumped the new NXT champion to go ahead and thrust him into that spotlight for the world title already. This is a good thing. This is a good thing, because you kind of wonder. I even wondered about Drew Galloway and where he would be positioned in
McIntyre.
Yeah, sorry, wrong promotion. McIntyre. I was kind of, I didn't know, because he had the big star feeling, right? And it felt like, okay, he was going to get his shot, but then it looked like maybe he would be out of the picture, and then all of a sudden he's back in and he wins the championship. Adam Cole is right there now. What do you think about this this new group forming in NXT?
I can't do anything but help. I don't know much about Adam Cole, Bebe, or the Red Dragons, or the other guys. I was like, who are these two random dudes coming in and helping them? Like, I don't know the history. I guess bad Stokes there in that regard. But nothing, I see it as a good move for NXT. Obviously, Bobby Roode coming up to SmackDown leaves a big hole or a big void in the main event scene. McIntyre is the champ. You need a heel to go against them. Why not the debuting, Adam Cole? Could you make a case for, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what other heel could you have elevated to even, compete with McIntyre. I guess you could make McIntyre could turn heel, and maybe, a guy like, Roderick Strong gets back into the picture or something like that. But, for right now, McIntyre is a face. Adam Cole is hot right now. He makes a debut. You know what, man? That dude kind of looks like Shawn Michaels to me, man. He has he's Shawn Michaels-esque. Maybe it was the super kick thing. I don't know. But, I like the move. Adam Cole, we'll see. Like I said, I'm not well versed. I know he was the man in ROH for quite some time, and so was his buddies, the Red Dragon. So we'll see. Could this lead to last week where, they build this, whether they call it the Balor Club or whatever they call it, where they kind of have a presence in all of the different, all three brands of WWE and kind of build from there. That would be something that would be, very interesting if this was kind of the genesis of something like that.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. And there, you speak of the ROH ties. They were very much, buddies. One half of the Red Dragons actually tagged with not Bobby Fish, with Kyle O'Reilly, with Adam Cole at first, and then they broke off, and then Red Dragons were formed. But I thought for a while that I can't forget. I'm having a freaking brain fart. What's his name that just came over as well, who's been inserted in the heavyweight picture? Strong. I thought he was going to be the next in line, and then Adam Cole kind of came and looks like he's cut the line there. But man, so this is a great thing because NXT for me has gotten stale, and I think Sanity, they could be an amazing group. I kind of, I've spoken about it. I'm not going to rehash my ideas with them, but the fact that the Red Dragons, who are now coming up, and they're immediately going to have a spotlight on them. They're going to put a spotlight back on that tag team title. And those three, it'll be interesting to see how that all intertwines and interacts. And so NXT, they're getting a fusion of stars right now. We saw Leo Rush just signed. He's a young high flyer. Just signed with the WWE. He's at the Performance Center. I don't know how long before he get his due, but Aleister Black. Woo! I can't say enough good things about this dude. He is probably one of my favorites.
I drafted him in our draft.
That is a wise pick, man. I've seen a lot of comparison to Punk. I don't know if it's just because he sits down, Indian style in the middle of the ring, but
the kicks, all of that.
Yeah, and he's got kind of like the indie. I'm talking about like indie music type of theme to him. That guy could be a superstar to me. That guy.
Yeah. The only thing with him though. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how much because like him and Tommy at Takeover, and there, you talked about Rude and McIntyre's match, and that was a good match, but that might have been. I'm just rehashing the card. It was a good match, and that might have been the worst match on the card.
Why do you say that? What do you mean?
It was I'm not. McIntyre and Rude was a good match.
Okay.
But it might have been the worst match on the card because all of the other matches were so good. So Tommy and Aleister Black's match was so physical, right? Because they both have that stiff, that stiff wrestling style, and kind of similar in the same vein as as Nakamura or what have you. That style though translates over to the main roster. Like, it's great for NXT because NXT are kind of your hardcore, your diehard, wrestling fans, and they appreciate that style of wrestling. But once you get that up to the main roster, I don't know, man. I know Finn Balor kind of has a little bit of that too, and he's over, I guess. And Nakamura's over, and his music contributes to that a lot. Not to take anything away from his skill set, but in WWE, his theme music it makes him immensely popular. So I don't know. I like Mr. Black a lot. I think he, like you said, he has the goods. It's just, does that style of wrestling translate over when you bring him up to the main roster? But him and Tommy had a great match at NXT TakeOver. The tag team match was really solid between Sanity and Authors of Pain. The first Johnny Gargano and Cien Almas. And Cien Almas, he can wrestle, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't really done it for me in NXT during his run. But two things did it for me. His valet did it for me. and
Courtney right now.
And his match with Gargano was really good. That was good. And then the women's title match, Asuka and Ember Moon was an excellent match as well. Sad to see Asuka go down, which is huge right now.
Yeah.
For NXT. I was listening to or reading an interview that Triple H did with somebody, and it was on one of the dirt sheets. And they asked him, like, who's the one superstar that Vince really wants to call up from NXT, and you've had to, like, pull the reins and say, hey, you can't have this person right now. And he said, hands down, that person is Asuka. Like, they're ready for Asuka on the main roster. And I think what the issue is that they don't believe in any of the other ladies yet that they can pull the trigger and call her up. She's carrying the women's division. Now, Ember Moon is talented. They had a really good match. She's definitely somebody who is probably next in line. And now she may have to be propelled in that spot because Asuka's hurt. What do? They're saying Asuka's going to be out like 6 to 8 weeks. Do they keep the belt? I would imagine they keep the belt on her, right? Because she's been undefeated.
Well, there's probably not even a NXT pay-per-view in that time.
Right. Right. Great point. So they can afford to, it's not like WWE where if you're out 6 to 8 weeks, they probably have to strip you. So that's a good point. So what do they do? Because like I said, Vince wants Asuka, and her going down is a huge blow to the women's division. I guess we'll see who steps up. You do have some good wrestlers. You got Ember Moon, you got Nikki Cross. You got I don't know if the Iconic Duo are good wrestlers, but they certainly are characters that generate and draw heat. So you got a couple of pieces there. But overall, man, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 was a phenomenal show. In my opinion, it was probably better than SummerSlam. It was better than SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure just about everybody who watched both shows would agree with you there wholeheartedly. But the other thing is, let's kind of jump. Let's jump from that. It was a great show. The call-ups will happen. Ember Moon, unless they do it like an interim title, which we don't see in the WWE, which would be a cool little thing to add because then you can put some shine on Ember Moon. She's a champion, but we know she's got to face Asuka, right? So that could make even build up for their return bout, and it would be really amazing to see, I think. So that would be maybe something that creative could play with. And the different options there. but we talk about call-ups. This is not a call-up, but it is a change. We talk about injury, and we'll get to some additional injury there. But I want to speak to 205 Live. I want to speak to the arrival of the savior of 205 Live.
The most annoying man in professional wrestling. Go ahead.
Lord, dude, you always wonder about the rumors. Are they true? Are they not true? Is it hype? Is it just someone talking? The rumors are that this little man, Enzo, has gotten on everybody's nerve. Now, that is not a very far-fetched rumor to be had because he seems super annoying, but he is on 205 Live. Is this?
I was hoping. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What were you hoping? What were you hoping?
I was hoping that he fell out of that shark cage, and like
he was greasing himself up. He could have slipped out.
I'm like, because he was. First of all, that match shouldn't even have been on the main card of SummerSlam. Add to the fact that he was like talking and yelling and just being annoying during the whole match. It was like, oh my God. I should have just muted. I was watching SummerSlam. I think I was watching on my iPad. I should have just muted the whole time. But you're alluding to Enzo and his move to 205 Live. Now, as much as Enzo annoys me, this was a great move. It was a excellent decision by the WWE. I think Corey Graves actually alluded to it on the show that he does with Rosenberg and JBL, where they do like the PTI type show. What is it called? Bring It to the Table or something to that effect.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Corey Graves said Enzo should be on 205 Live. And I don't know if he had an inside scoop or if WWE heard him say that and they were like, that's a good idea. He brings what 205 Live lacks. Love him or hate him, he brings what 205 lacks.
Okay.
And that is a charismatic character. Nobody on 205 Live has any charisma. Neville is the champ. He's the king of the cruiserweights. He has a little mean, smug gimmick going. That works great for the bad guy. That works great for him. But he really doesn't have that, that protagonist to go along with that character. Sure, Tozawa, because he had, the whole Titus Worldwide thing backing him, and, he kind of had Titus O'Neil as his mouthpiece, that worked. I wish they would have gone with that maybe a little bit longer because I like the whole Titus Worldwide thing. But you bring in an Enzo, somebody with some charisma, somebody with some character, somebody with some pizzazz, and you breathe some life into 205 Live. You get people actually interested in maybe even watching 205 Live because I don't catch more than the highlights on WWE's YouTube page. I have never watched outside of maybe very, very early in the show's beginnings an episode of 205 Live.
Okay. Those are great points. I agree. They definitely, there's no disagreement that they need some character, they need some personality. But if the person that's carrying that doesn't have the in-ring acumen to hang with a Neville or a Cedric Alexander, I mean, it's kind of a waste. I would rather see, you mentioned the Bobby Heenan. I would rather him transition to a manager role. That's really his niche. His niche is not a wrestler. I mean, we've always had throughout history of professional wrestling. There's been this one goof that just gets beat up. He's small, gets tossed around, but. Enzo could make a awesome career out of being a manager versus being a in-ring competitor because he doesn't have it, So I wish they would transition.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with Enzo is that they broke him and Cass up. You know, and I've said it on past shows that I thought Cass had more of a long-term. I think he had more long-term career opportunities with WWE, not particularly because of his wrestling ability, but because he's big. Like, you know, WWE likes, you know, 7-footers are a rarity in, you know, professional wrestling. You got the Big Show, you got your Andre the Giant, you know, you got Taker Kane. Well, maybe not a rarity. I just named like 4 people. But I'm just saying, you know, like really big guys like that. So, you know, Cass, I thought I saw him being able to, you know, maybe make something out of his career. And Enzo, you know, really lost out when him and Cass broke up because, you know, where does he go? Because he's not a great wrestler. He's a great talker, but even he gets annoying at talking sometimes. But, you know, where does he go? But I can see him thriving on 205 Live. And I know people in the chat room are saying, please, God, don't put the Cruiserweight title on him. But
no,
it's going to happen.
No.
It's going to happen.
He is too bad, man. He is not.
Well, maybe okay. Maybe it won't happen because he has so much heat backstage. Maybe it won't happen because of that.
Man.
But I think the move to 205 Live is definitely going to help him more than it hurts him.
I don't know. I think it might expose him even more because these guys are quick. They're sharp. You know, most of them have really, you know, they're used to putting on a show on the indie scene and doing flashy stuff. I mean, there's been reports that Enzo doesn't even watch wrestling. I mean, now that you're in wrestling, you know, you might want to do it to get job, but, you know, I don't like to take my job home with me and continue all the time. But, you know, but you have.
But it's like different, right? It's different for a wrestler, though. It's different for a professional athlete, you know, an athlete, right. You know, like a basketball player that doesn't watch other, basketball,
right. or like we see LeBron James, you know, he's running around circles in his off time. He doesn't have to be doing this. He doesn't have to be touching the basketball right now.
Yeah, and you see, and LeBron James, like, I mean, I know his kid plays AAU and stuff like that, but I mean, this guy. He goes to high school games. He's at college games. Right. He's at AAU games. So, I mean, you know, he's around the sport. Go ahead.
No. I was just agreeing with you. Absolutely. That's a great point. He's, you know, great. And you know, name dropping and speaking with Kurt Angle, you know, he talked to me about peeking through the curtain. I was doing an interview with him, you know, way back in the day before a house show, and he spoke with me way longer than he should have, and but he got to the point. He's like, you know, dude, I gotta go. I need to go watch. I need to go. He was talking about going and peeking through the curtain so he can watch a house show, and that, you know, and he's regarded as one of the greatest ever, and that's. And then we hear about Enzo, who doesn't know who wrestlers are and doesn't know holds and things of that nature. And you want this guy to be your 205 Live champion. So I
didn't say I want him to be. I just said that it's probably going to happen.
Fair enough. So I think they should transition him out. He would be a great manager. You know, if that's what his niche is, let's go ahead and put a spotlight on it, amplify it, and let's do something with it. But 205, they need something. They have nothing. They need something. So I can see it.
Yeah, that's my point, man. That's why, you know, much to your chagrin, they need something. That something is Enzo Amore, man.
All right, let's talk about. We're talking about a little bit in the chat room about needing something. They needed to do something with Chad Gable after his partner also split with him for much different reasons. And apparently Kurt Angle there was a deal worked out, and now Daniel Bryan had Kurt Angle call the good buddy, Mr. Shelton Benjamin, to, hey, You know what? I was stoked about this. I was stoked about this because our good old friend AKD could stop chasing Shelton Benjamin around the world now that he is finally returned.
Oh my God, that's a throwback for real. Those that are wondering what we're talking about are gonna have to go deep into the HTR archives. Shout out to AKD, one of our originals, who used to be a part of the team and listened to the show back in the day, and was a huge Shelton Benjamin fan. So much so that this brother was hanging off of a taxi.
He chased him down for
Shelton
blocks.
Benjamin down for blocks and blocks and blocks. That's a story on an old episode of HTR. We'll have to post it on Twitter, man. Dig that one up and find it. But yeah, that's hilarious, man. I know AKD was probably marking out like nobody's business when Shelton came back.
I think he missed it. I think I saw a tweet oh man, I'm like, how do you miss that? But yeah, so Shelton Benjamin returns. He's teaming up now with Chad Gable. The funniest meme ever. Did you see it? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh
no, I haven't seen the meme. No,
man, I can't even do it justice because I don't remember the caption on the meme, but something to the effect, well, the replacement, will they even notice? Referring to on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Aunt Viv, who was a
that's a good one. So basically, they're saying, Shelton Benjamin, Jason Jordan doesn't make any difference. Just like when they changed the Aunt Vivs, nobody. There's only a handful of people that were appalled when they changed Aunt Vivs. But you know what? Personally, I still watch Fresh Prince, man. Nothing changed for me.
Yes. So maybe nothing will change for Chad Gable, and he'll once again get into this World Tag Team title scene. But where do you feel about the return of Shelton Benjamin? He's over 40 now.
I also drafted Shelton Benjamin in the draft, and some guys were clowning me about that. They shall remain nameless.
I think they were clowning you by the pick choice, not the timing of the pick, not the actual pick. But yeah, so what do you think about Shelton Benjamin returning as we wrap this show up? And do you think he'll have an impact? Is it just a nostalgia run, and he'll be forgotten much like the Hardys? How do you feel about that?
You know what? I hope not, man. Shelton Benjamin is someone who I've always thought was immensely talented, and he's on the right show to actually thrive and get some opportunity. Shelton Benjamin never really got that chance, if you will, during his first WWE run. Obviously, I think he was IC champ, maybe US champ. He won all the titles except the world title. So I could potentially see him at some point, if WWE really is invested in him, getting an opportunity and a chance to be in the main event picture, because he's talented enough to do so. So I hope it's not just a nostalgia thing where he's just there, kind of like the Hardys are now, kind of like the Dudleys when they came back, where they were just solely there to put over the new talent. I hope that's not the case, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Yep, time will tell. I'm excited about it. The only thing I'm a little salty is because also back in the day when we were at that Atlanta WrestleMania, I saw him in a restaurant. He had a bunch of slime and stuffed guck on his mouth, and I asked him if he's going to do an interview for Hit the Ropes, and he said, sure, hit me up on Twitter, and he never did. So I still got a little bit of a grudge from him till this day. So you owe me, Shelton. I know you're listening. You owe me. Namaste. All right. I'm gonna cool off with that. I'm gonna try not to hold that grudge for too much longer. It's been a couple of years, but
yeah, bro. That was like we went to that WrestleMania like in 2011, man. That was like 6 years ago.
I hold grudges, man. I hold grudges.
Okay, yeah, I hear you.
I got a list. Vader's on that list for asking us for money. Frank Shamrock's on that list for asking us for. Okay, let me stop. We had a lot of good guests. Woosah. All right, Stokes. We're gonna wrap this bad boy up. It's after the 10 o'clock hour. My nap is near. We thank everyone for joining us here at Hit the Ropes, powered by thevc.com. That is TheVESEY. thevc.com. Make sure you check it out for all the news, notes, and articles. Stokes, before we get up out of here, I know you want to tell them about how great at Hit the Ropes is on Twitter, but do you have anything else you'd like to share with the people?
No, man. I hope you guys enjoyed a great weekend of wrestling. As Dara said, hit us up on Twitter. Follow us at Hit the Ropes. Follow us at the VC. Follow the VC as well. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Any social platform you'll be able to find us. Hit the Ropes. Is the .com still going or no? It's
still going. That's where we post the show.
So hittheropesradio.com. Hit us up there. And the only other thing I have to say, Darius Brown, since I have you right here, I know you're about to sign off, is I want you to come on the show next Wednesday, and I want you to formally apologize to me when Floyd Mayweather destroys Conor McGregor. I want you to do that next week. You be ready.
Listen. I'll be there on Wednesday, but I won't have any apologies. As you will see on August 26th, 3 days from now, the biggest upset in sports and entertainment history, because let's not make any mistakes. This is a WrestleMania going on this Saturday. This was hype. This match shouldn't have happened, but as Conor McGregor says, Mayweather done messed up and let it happen. So he opened his mouth. I'm gonna let McGregor's fist do the talking. Mark my words. I can't do an Irish accent, but mark my words. Your boy's going down. He might be going to sleep. So we will see.
I'm forced to root for him, and I'm not a fan of him. I mean, he's from Michigan originally, but I'm not a fan of his at all. But I'm forced to root for him because it's just absolutely ridiculous to think this MMA guy is going to come in his domain and actually beat him. But that's a different show, maybe for another time. Maybe we'll continue to verbally spar on social media. But next week, I want my apology, because next week I'm going to come on this. I don't even care. I'm not even scheduled to come on next week, but I'm going to come on and I'm going to say, Darius Brown. So I told you, brother, that Conor wasn't man enough, wasn't skilled enough. And I see them little warm-ups he be doing in the ring. I don't know what the heck. This is not Taibo. This is not Zumba class. This is not I don't know what else you could call it. It's none of that. Science of boxing, and Conor is not ready. Believe that.
Okay. I hear you. I hear the words you're saying, and this is still recorded. And we might have to play it back. Just promise me. Just promise me that you too will be on the show on Wednesday. And also promise me this. Promise you don't sulk. Promise you don't go into a deep depression, because your sport will be taken over by a little Irishman who does silly warm-ups. So until next Wednesday, you go ahead and prepare yourself for this loss, this big old L you and the rest of the boxing community is going to take. And we will see you next Wednesday. Peace.